Speaking within his newly reconstructed office with an audience of senators that included Mon Mothma and Bail Organa, the recently declared Emperor Palpatine explained the future of the Imperial military. Palpatine was adamant that the Jedi Order's treason was a lesson that couldn't be dismissed. The Jedi treachery required new classes of capital ships and starfighters, and new Imperial academies that trained officers and crew to command them. Just as important, however, was the need for new batches of clone troopers to replace the quickly aging forces that just won the Galactic War. Therefore, even in the earliest days of the Empire, Palpatine was clear that while officers would be recruited from within the populace of the Empire, the Imperial Stormtrooper Corps was to be filled with clone soldiers who would supplement and gradually replace those that fought the Clone War. With that, it was clear. The cloning program started upon Kamino would not end. Despite the Imperial ban on cloning, aimed at stopping any clone army from rising to challenge Palpatine, use of clone soldiers was continued, even with the rise of the Galactic Empire. Two main sources were depended upon. The first was the Kamino clones that relied upon the genetic template of Jango Fett, and which slowly produced troopers over the course of a decade. The second source was the clones created by Arcanian Microtechnologies and its Spartai cloning cylinders. In the final year of the Clone War, the ranks of the Republic grew to rely heavily upon these Arcanian clone troopers. The Arcanian methods were seen as superior based upon the requirements of the war. Although Kaminoan methods were more effective, Arcanian clones could be produced in only 1 year, with the ability to produce more flexible training and personality characteristics through a process known as flash memory. Therefore, although the Kaminoan techniques were still in use after the war, when the Empire wished to create a new technique that developed a new line of clone troopers independent of the Jango Fett genetic template, the Empire turned not to the cloners of Kamino, but to those of Arcanian Microtechnologies. The Empire wished to undertake a new clone trooper program that further refined the methods and techniques of Arcanian, and which just weren't possible using Kamino techniques. Wanting clone troopers that were even more loyal than those that served in the Clone War, the Empire wanted a completely new line of troopers. This new clone line would become known as the GeNode clone trooper. They would be given psychological programming that made them entirely obedient, and physical characteristics defined by toughness. However, there was a further feature that would come to represent the uniqueness of this new line of clones. The GeNodes would undergo psychological manipulation to prevent every clone trooper from understanding that they were clones. In fact, they would be prevented from even discussing the topic of cloning among other GeNode clones. The reason for this modification was clear. The Empire wanted to prevent a brotherhood from forming among the clones themselves, similar to that seen among the clone troopers created upon Kamino. Loyalty was to be given to the Empire and the Empire alone, with the clones understanding their allegiances lay with the Stormtrooper Corps and not their origins within Arcanian. To help further this desire, at least 4 prime clones were used within this process, an attempt likely undertaken to lessen the obviousness that the troopers were clones. However, the GeNode cloning program ended tragically and in utter failure. Despite the best attempts of Arcanian, the psychological manipulation that attempted to prevent the GeNodes from understanding their clone origins failed. The GeNode clones would far too often awaken to realize that they were one of many who appeared to be just like them. Believing these other clones were imposters and thus a threat, the GeNodes turned upon each other violently, looking to destroy the other clones in their terror and rage. Due to these failures, the GeNode conditioning developed by Arcanian quickly fell out of favor, with other methods being relied upon to carry out the orders of Palpatine. But despite the failed attempt, the GeNode clone trooper program helped to define the future of the Imperial Stormtrooper Corps. It provided yet further evidence that the cloning methods of the Empire were unreliable. While the Kaminoan methods were slow and expensive, the Arcanian processes too often created subpar clones, seen clearly within the GeNode program. Over time, clones became less and less important to the Empire's Stormtrooper Corps. Given that there was no shortage of soldiers who could be recruited and conscripted into military service, the reliance on clone troopers shrank. And by the decade prior to the Battle of Yavin, clones represented only 33% of the overall Stormtrooper Corps, a vast decrease from the fighting force that was once comprised entirely by clones. So there we have it, the Empire's failed GeNode clone trooper program. We love making these videos, so why not subscribe for more fun Star Wars theories and discussions? Also, if you enjoyed the video, think about giving a like or leaving a comment. Or perhaps follow us on Twitter at SW Reading Club for updates regarding the channel. Or support the channel through Patreon for access to exclusive rewards and discussions. If not for me, for the good old days.